Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Ghost Chronicles International. It is. I am Ron Kolick, your host, the gatekeeper to the realm of the unknown, the unexplained, and the unbelievable. New England's own Van Helsing. With me, all the way across the pond from the land of the Red Dragon, is the gold standard in ghost hunting, Mr. Steve Parsons.
You know, this gold standard stuff, I've been thinking about that over the last few weeks, and do you know, it's actually quite sad that I'm the gold standard in ghost hunting. Using common sense and good methods have made me the gold standard. Anybody could be the gold standard. You just have to do the job properly.
It's not possible to do it unless you get incredibly lucky, like we have been once in 25 years. You can't do an investigation in one visit. Well, first of all, the first thing is there anything worth investigating? There are thousands of haunted buildings by reputation around the country. Every castle, every old creaky damp building has a ghost. So is it worth investigating? So what we look for, first of all, is are there people's reports that are of interest? Are there contemporary reports, visitors, to people that work there, people who live in a location? Are they having experiences that sound interesting? Then is there a historical component? I don't mean that the building has a checkered history or an interesting history. I mean, are there any historical reports of previous occupants or had similar experiences? So is there a historical component to people's experiences? Is there a contemporary modern component to the experience? Is it something that we can actually, are there any questions that we can conceive of answering? If, for example, you have vague sightings, as you do in a lot of castles throughout the UK, of white figures and white ladies, and then I don't think you could ever really conduct an investigation. There's no question to answer. People will continue to have experiences, and you being there is probably not going to do anything. But there are certain types of experience, and Pembroke Castle is one of those sorts of locations where the nature of the experiences suggests that there is a pattern, some degree of uniformity to people's experiences, which suggests that there might be a chance of determining at least, can we eliminate a natural cause? Can it be something within the environment that might be triggering these unusual experiences? We're in the chapel, but the chapel has, I think, one of the more interesting and resilient ghost stories attached to it, and one of the more credible, in my opinion. Members of the castle staff, when closing up at the end of the day, in the early evening, have reported a figure. Some describe it as a priest, some a monk, others a small figure, perhaps resembling a child, being seen drifting through this room, ignoring what the member of staff is doing. So we'll talk to the people who are there. We can't be there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's just not practical, it's not possible. But there are people who work at these locations or live at these locations. There are people who visit these locations, particularly in a tourist area like Pembrokeshire. And so what we're trying to find out is there any pattern and uniformity to their experiences? So we go along and we try and meet the people and try wherever possible to gain a first-hand account. All too often it's a friend of a friend, or the lady that used to work in the gift shop. But often you can get first-hand experiences, and indeed many of the staff who currently work at Pembroke Castle have had experiences that they consider to be paranormal. Gemma, I was talking to Howard, and he was telling me that a lot of the staff here have had experiences And you yourself were telling me that, was it around Christmas time?
Yes, around Christmas time we had a party in the cafe over there, and we were sat upstairs, me and another colleague, and we saw over here there was lights coming up the stairs, the steps and down the steps. There was nothing on in there going like lights or anything, but there was lights going up and down the steps and we didn't know what it was.
First of all, getting to know the person and also letting them get to know us, because if we are going to develop any form of investigation, we have to develop a relationship, a relationship based on trust, a mutual respect for one another, gaining an understanding of the person. Are they likely to be a person who exaggerates? Are they a storyteller? Do they believe in the paranormal? What's in it for them? Because often the case, people, despite the popularity of the paranormal within the mainstream media, television and newspapers, there are people who have a great deal to lose by sharing their paranormal stories. Socially, they might be ridiculed, have the mickey taken from them. The modern public ghost hunt is an interactive scary movie night. You go with a group of mates. You probably don't. You may even take your popcorn still, but you're having this shared, spooky, edgy experience. You know you're safe, really, but there might be this. There might be an evil demonic spirit just lurking, but the medium will keep you nice and safe, and you've remembered to do all your rituals before and after. So it's become a spooky night out. There's an old saying, clothes maketh the man, and in terms of ghost hunting, modern ghost hunting, flight cases maketh the ghost hunter. You can't be a ghost hunter unless you have an extraordinary amount of cameras, of sound recorders, of ghost detecting devices, machines that go bleep and that have exotic names. Each of these devices exists to make the job of detecting ghosts and spirits something that anybody can do. They just don't work. They don't work because we don't know yet what a ghost is. We can measure temperature, and we can hope to verify when people say the room felt colder or warmer. We can measure humidity, we can measure the movement of air within a location, we can photograph, reproduce these blobs of light that people make claims about. But none of those are detecting ghosts. And we can record voices on these boxes. We can hear sounds that sound like voices, but there's no indication that they're the dead people talking to the living, despite what a lot of people claim. And so all of this equipment really is pretty meaningless. And in fact, most of it, when you look at it in any detail, any depth, one of the most popular devices is the electromagnetic field meter, the EMF meter, which is used to detect, according to those that use them, the electromagnetic emissions of ghosts and spirits, or the manipulation of the ambient electromagnetic field by ghosts and spirits. Now, we don't know what ghosts and spirits are, so we can't assume that they're electromagnetic. And anyway, the basic flaw of this device is it was designed to measure the known emissions from faulty microwave oven doors, from cell phone towers, from known man-made sources that people were concerned about for reasons of health. Using one of those $25, $50 EMF meter devices, ghost detecting devices, is doubly flawed, because you're only getting an amplitude readout. It's just telling you there is electromagnetic energy there, and that there is more and less of it, depending on how far the needle moves or how many lights light up. But you know nothing about the frequency, nothing further about it So it's like getting wet and not knowing whether somebody's thrown urine over you or tap water over you. You just know that you're wet. It's not a question of belief. In fact, I absolutely believe people see ghosts, but it's the mechanics of the sighting that I'm interested in.